Welcome back. Last time we discussed the distinction between science and scientism, and how science is defined as organized knowledge, which is neutral with respect to religion. But scientism, which claims that modern science has a monopoly on knowledge, is not. In fact, trying to combine Islamic ethics, or any other religious ethics, with modern science would be impossible if modern science claimed a monopoly on knowledge, because scientism would deny the very basis of those religious ethics. So what holds religion and science together in Islam? The Qur'an. Recall that the Qur'an is the al-Kitab, the mother book, which implies origin, root, foundation, basis. Al-Kitab transcends our world on the guarded tablet, the archetypal world where God has written the archetypal reality of all things, including the reality of the Qur'an itself. From this archetypal reality, God has revealed two Qur'ans, not one. There is the revealed Qur'an in the form of a book, which is what Muslims read all the time, the 114 chapters of over 6,200 verses in the Arabic language, as we previously discussed. This is the Qur'an that one can bind in a book, or al-Qur'an al-tadwini. Then you have al-Qur'an al-takwini. Takwin means to existentiate, bring into existence, bring into being. And so Qur'an in this sense means the cosmos, the universe. The cosmos is a sacred text that communicates a spiritual truth and presence, just as the Qur'an al-Tadwini does. The universe contains the reflections of the archetype of the Qur'an in one way, and the Qur'an is revealed to the Prophet of Islam in another way. And so there's a correspondence between the two, between the Qur'an and the cosmos. This is the important point. According to traditional Islamic thought, the root of all knowledge is contained in the Qur'an. All major Islamic thinkers asserted this. So the Qur'an contains all knowledge in terms of principles, not necessarily in terms of details, thereby holding religion and science together. The Islamic view is that either knowledge is related to reality or it's not knowledge. If knowledge is related to reality, then either reality has a single source or it doesn't. If you believe it doesn't, you're in another worldview. If you believe it does, then that is what we call Allah, God, divine reality, or other names. The root of that knowledge must be related to the root of reality itself. And this theological or philosophical argument is very difficult to refute. You can try to refute its premises, but once you accept its premises, it's very difficult to refute the logic that follows from it. So you had this world in which you had al-Qur'an al-Tadwini, the book as a source of Islamic law, Islamic ethics, Islamic religion, Islamic piety, the way you lived, the way you dealt with your wife or husband and children, and so forth. And inwardly, how you made things. It is the inspiration for Islamic art, and it brought Islamic science and religion together as well, since the whole world, the cosmos, God's creation, is al-Qur'an al-takwini. Perhaps the most important term for understanding this relationship is a term which comes from the Qur'an and is used in all Islamic languages, the word ayah. The word ayah, which means a sign or symbol of God, conveys this beautifully. The term ayatollah made the word ayah famous throughout the world. Ayatollah is a 19th century term in response to the idea that the sultan is the shadow of God on earth, Dhillallah. Shiite ulama were very powerful in the 19th century in Iran. So they were looking around to find a title for themselves to match this Dhillallah, and they came up with the title Ayatollah. There were very few of them, just one or two, so it's a very exalted title. The others who were well educated were called Hujjat al-Islam. There were only 2 or 3 Ayatollahs in Iran during the time of Reza Shah, and 1 or 2 in Najaf. After the Iranian Revolution, when the Ayatollahs came to power, everybody wanted to become one. And so suddenly the number of Ayatollahs ballooned, And now we have so many, we don't know who's who anymore. But from another point of view, going back to the Quranic idea in which everything is ayatullah, everyone here is an ayatollah. I'll bring some turbans next time for everybody to put on. And not only us, but the trees, the leaves, the sky, everything that God has created is an ayah of God, or ayatullah. This is true on the basis of the verse in the Qur'an, "We shall show them our signs upon the horizons and within themselves, till it becomes clear to them that this is the truth." In short, everything in the world is a sign of God and comes from Him. Now, this idea, which is very fecund metaphysically, has led to many classical works in poetry, prose, and so forth throughout the Islamic tradition. This is a very important lesson for science. What does science study? Science only studies phenomena. Those are ayat. But they're also the verses of the Qur'an. So in a sense, whether you're a religious scholar studying the Qur'an or a physicist studying some phenomena, you're studying God's signs. The very concept of ayat welded religion and science in many contexts together. The great difference with what happened in the West is that in Islam, there was always this hierarchy of knowledge. That is, the study of the weight of the apple did not exhaust the category of the apple as a divine ayah. There's a qualitative aspect, symbolic aspect, spiritual aspect of the apple that is also part of the ayah of God. This is a very important point in the history of thought. Another point which is very important, which complements the idea of ayah, is the instrument with which we as human beings study the ayah. That is, our reasoning, our thought, our reflection, our meditation. Here we get into the vast field of epistemology, or how we know things, to which we'll turn next time.